My name is China and I am going to teach you how to draw a 3D sphere. So get your pencils and paper ready and I'm going to show you through the process. So I've got my two pencils here. The reason why I have two is because I have a little range. So I have my 3B because that will give me the lighter values, and I have my 8B which will allow me to have the darker ones. If you don't have these pencils, then don't worry, you can use anything. Just make sure that you're fully extending that range of light and dark within that pencil. But if you do intend on taking drawing a bit more seriously, I would advise you to get quite an array of pencils. So for now, we'll start with these two and let's see how we go. Okay, so I have my paper here, and instead of trying to draw the perfect circle, I will just draw it with a little cheat. So I have my 3B pencil because that is a lighter pencil, and I'm just going to give myself a very gentle outline there. In order to start, I want to recognize where my light source is coming from, and I just want to isolate this area very, very softly, so softly you can barely see it on the camera, but that just tells me that I'm going to avoid putting any pencil in that area for now. And in the meantime, what I'm going to do is place this average value in all of the circle, the rest of the circle, because that will then give me a groundwork to work from. So don't worry too much about the texture within the circle. At the minute we just want to get a foundation of grey in there, so a basic value. You can see I'm holding my pencil along the tip, so if you can see I'm holding my pencil like that, and that just allows me to use the edge of the graphite, and it just avoids any sharp engravings from the actual tip of the pencil. We want to make sure we're keeping everything very soft, because if we need to erase anything, then we haven't scratched the surface of the paper and we're able to fix things. Okay, great. So that's all covered. Now what I want to do is to start pushing the values down here. So if our light source is coming from the top, so from this angle, that means that this area here is going to be a lot darker. So now we have our average value. Still with my 3B pencil, I'm just going to start pushing the range a little bit more. Now you need to recognize that the shape is not flat, it is a ball. So I want whatever my value is to just follow that shape. Because if the light source is coming from one area, it's going to be falling around the shape. What you'll see are these rings of grey, the darker rings of grey, slowly being formed around the ball. Now if you can see, I'm holding my pencil differently. I am holding it as I would a writing pen, but I'm not applying that much pressure. I'm still just letting it kiss the surface. I've changed the handle now, I've changed how I'm holding the pencil, because I want to blend it in as softly as I can. I never ever want to have sharp lines, because this is not a sharp object, it's soft. I'm adding a little bit more pressure now because My 3B is a much lighter pencil than my 8B, but it just gives me a bit more control. I want to make sure that this area that should be in shadow is just helping me to see what it will look like as the ball gets darker and darker. It's helping me to visualize the shadows and the shapes. You should be able to see that the form is starting to come together. Now, as my light source is not behind, but slightly in front of the ball, I can just make sure that that edge has a little bit of definition there. Okay, so I now want to start making the dark values in here stand out. So I'm going to pick up my 8B, so my darker pencil. And I just want to get that dark value in there because that will really help make the lighter values stand out. I'm not going to make it black because this shadow would never be black, but I should not be afraid to make it dark. See that my paper has some stuff behind it there, so there's an easy way to fight that. Just shade around it. You can also get a putty rubber and pick out that extra heavy bit of pencil in those areas, which I might do later, but let's see what we can do without any form of eraser. So, it's coming together. Could it be better though? Yes, absolutely. Now if you notice I keep changing the direction of the lines. It's a bit like cross-hatching. So when you cross-hatch, you're weaving in between the different layers of pencil. It just creates a more even, soft, nice circle without having to smudge. Smudging is a very easy temptation, has a nice effect. But if we can control it with just our hands and just the pencil, then that's an even greater skill. Okay, it's looking alright. There's a bit too much light in this area here. So what I'm going to do, just to be able to see it a bit more clearer, I'm going to get a base to the ball. So I just want to show exactly where the light source is coming from. I'm just going to draw a base so that the ball is situated. Okay. Now this value has to be really dark because this is pure shadow. And it will help us to see the edge of this ball as well. It helps to recognize that this section, not this one, but this area in here isn't pure shadow because we have refracted light. So light that has bounced from the floor back up into the shape. So this way I'm holding my pencil quite aggressively I'm not too worried about the marks it'll make on the paper, because I want it to be dark. I want to fill all of that empty space and make it as dark as possible. And with this, I'm able to see actually how dark is my ball. How dark are my shadows? Can I make them darker? Will that really help it pop? Will it help give it more shape? Because remember, we're creating an illusion on paper. Okay, so I can see now that this shadow and this shadow are very, very different. But this glow underneath here looks really good. However, I can definitely push this darker and push this darker. Because right now this value and maybe this value are the same. And that means that our ball isn't real. I'm not reading it as a natural form. So at the minute, the same area that we were talking about, is still the same value as here. But watch what happens if I make it darker. Do we lose it completely, or is it still the same effect? Is it more effective? Do I need to push the value above it darker? Quite happy with that, but I'm just going to go back to my 3B. I'm going to try and work on these areas up here. Now, I'm going to do a bit of light sketch and release, so place it down, bring it up. I just want to soften those edges into the light source. Because this area still needs a bit of pencil, but not so much that this space is really big. So I'm just controlling how much pencil goes down. And again, it's a bit of cross-hatching. How soft can I go that it blends in and you can't see where it starts or stops? Okay, so I'm just in the finishing touch stage. I just want my edges to be convincing, to be a part of the piece. At the minute, they're just a little bit sloppy. So if you want to take this even further and you really want to get this grainy texture to not be so bad, we can get a pencil in the H range. Mine's a bit worn out, but you should be able to see that that is a 3H. So a 2-3H is a very hard pencil. It's also very dark, and it just means that we're able to get in those gaps and really start to fill out that grainy surface that is preventing our drawing from being as smooth as possible. Whenever you get these grainy bits, it really lightens the value. So where you're trying to create shadow, it can be very annoying because it just won't be as dark as you originally planned. So by going back on your drawing and filling in these sections, it should help to unify the drawing. So you should be able to see this area already. We can also just use this to soften those edges that I wasn't 100% happy with. Thanks for watching, and stay tuned for more free demonstrations at the Sinclair Gallery with China Jordan. Have a great day, guys!